Plan BA governance. So you need to define how the decisions would be made about requirements and designs, including reviews, change control, approval, and prioritization.
Okay.
So this will help you what you're doing now in your requirement management process.
Okay.
So this will help there, which means what inputs do you require for BA governance to plan BA governance? We need BA approach that we have defined earlier and a stakeholder engagement approach. We have defined both of these in
Mhm.
earlier activities. And what will be the outcome? Governance approach. So what we are going to find out here is what we just said, how decisions are made about requirements, designs, including reviews, change control, approval, and prioritization. So, for example, if you're saying how decisions are made about requirements, so what do you think could be uh, could be like how decisions are made about requirements? So let's say there are two, three requirements, right? And compliance team is saying that I want these requirements to be implemented by 1/1/2019 because if we don't comply, it will we will be penalized. We will IRS will impose fine on us. Then there is another stakeholder who is a marketing person, marketing sales person, and then this guy is already have a project running, right? So uh, so it's a conflict. The resources are limited. They might have to pull resources from another project which is already running. So the marketing guy is saying if we don't roll out this project January next year, we might have a loss of business because another competitor is rolling out similar product. So another competitor is rolling out it in February, but we have to roll it out in January so that we have early start in market.
Mm.
Now, both of them have a valid point, uh, but as a business analyst, what do you think how a decision should be made about this requirement that the compliance requirement has come up?
Well, it's just understanding I guess, the level of risk that the company will have um, for non-compliance. And when is, I guess, the deadline for that compliance to have to take place? How much time do you have until that deadline to put, your changes in place or processes in place to meet that commitment? Um,
Mhm.
so is yeah, I mean, typically it's run by when is that deadline, um, and again, how big is that risk? I mean, it may not be such a big deal for to be non-compliant for maybe a month or two, but just understanding what um, what that compliance entails and what how big of a um, risk it's going to cause to the company for non-compliance.
So I think that's a valid point that we need to highlight the risk. Another approach that we can highlight, or maybe we can capture in this business analysis governance, is that we will ask both the stakeholders about the MVP requirements. So let's say if the marketing person is saying, I want to roll out certain product features in January before Feb, we can certainly ask the marketing stakeholder to probably deprioritize some of the features, which are not that important features, right? So a decision could be made on the basis of, and I think somewhere that aligns with the risk you said. But yes, same goes for compliance person. We may ask that what is the level of compliance you're looking for? Is it that, I mean, you want any new feature to be rolled out on our web so that we comply? Or is it that we can manage that through content? Or is it that initially we can handle it manually, wherein we are getting calls from the customers? and we are manually processing the forms who have changed as a part of this, this regulatory requirement.
Right.
So basically, we can probably highlight these in our BA governance plan, wherein if there is a conflict of requirement, maybe we can deprioritize some of the items from the release, and we can, I mean, we can adjust the backlog with new items, with another MVP item. So that's the approach we can take. And we have to highlight these things in governance plan, because this sometimes happens with multi-year projects. So if you are working on a project which is like 2 to 3 years of project, then you
Mhm.
never know how compliance is going to move. Compliance requirements change every year, right?
Right.
So and sometimes they are not very clear. So what happens is you are almost close to the deadline by when you have to be compliant, and the requirements are not clear. But once they become clear, the resources are already aligned with other projects. So you need to have a plan somewhere wherein how the requirements will be deprioritized, how the decisions will be made, what technique will you use? Will you use Moscow technique, or will you use high level, low level, medium level complexity technique, or how you want to go about it? If you have any other prioritization technique, you can use that. So that's
Right.
how the decisions would be made about requirements and designs also. So you need to also capture in this document that if there are 2 to 3 design solutions, right? So let's say there was a business need, and solution team or solution guys along with BA came up with 3 design options. So how would you choose those options? So maybe you can detail that we will go with less. We will find out the cost attached to each of the options, and also we will see how soon that solution is available. So if the cost of delay is very high for uh, one solution, we will pick that one first, right? And if there is a solution where the cost of delay is high and the effort is less, so of course I will pick that solution first. You getting my point?
Right. Yes.
Right. So that's how you may want to put uh, these details into governance plan. These are some examples. Of course, you can be creative about it. You can put more details. You can also use existing documents around change control. So again, you can review the existing documents that are a part of your organization. They are called organizational process assets also, OPAs. You can pull them out and can see how the change control process works. You can borrow some content from there and can put it here, and then you can highlight how the approval process will work. You would require approval on an email. You will send out an email, and then you would require an approval on that. Or alternatively, you can give a walkthrough of the requirements in a call, and within same call, you can record the approval. So that is another approach. Prioritization we just talked about.
Right.
So that's how the governance approach comes out. So what do we need to know as a concept or an element involved in business analysis governance? So we need to know change control process. So if it is not in place in your organization, maybe you can think of some new control process. You can plan prioritization approach. Again, it depends what you want to do. You want to use Moscow technique, or you want to do a ranking technique like 0 to 5 or 1 to 5. Decision making is also important, because when you are planning for BBA governance, there would be situations wherein you need to take decisions. So how those decisions will be taken? Is it through voting, or is it through ranking of options that you have to select, and then like ranking from 1 to 5, or voting, which is yes or no, and any other technique that could be there for decision making? Would you be using decision tree technique or mind map technique, all of that?
Right.
So plan for approval. So you need to have a plan for approval, yes. So once you have given a walkthrough of your document, BRD that you have uh, that you created, so now you have to get sign off on that. So how do you plan to do that? Is it that you will send one email wherein you will copy each stakeholder and you will get sign off on that? Or is it that you will send out separate emails to each of the stakeholders, right? Which stakeholder will be involved for approval? You need to have that name here. In how much time do you need the approval once the approval mail has been sent? So you might want to create that kind of plan. And if anything else you can think of could go here in plan for approval,
Okay.
depending on the context of your project. I mean, each project has its own challenge. Uh, there could be a project where the challenge is to get approval itself. No one is taking any decision. So for that, you might have to plan wherein you actually have to call in for a meeting, and that by the end of that meeting, you need consensus so that sign off can be provided. Or is it that a conditional sign off can be given, like out of 5 features, if a sign off is given for 4 features, are you okay to roll out to market with 4 features? Are you fine to exclude that 5th feature? So that's how you can detail out the plan for approval. Cool. So we have guidelines and tools for planning BA governance. So BA performance assessment is again, this will help in creating a plan for BA governance, because you also need to see if your BA work is on track or not, right? So you will of course need BA performance assessment tool, and you can, depending on how you want to do it, maybe if you want to discuss with the team that how this team wants to assess their BA performance. Is it that they, I mean, there could be various factors. Is it that they want to track that they are on time, they are they are publishing their documents on time? Is it that they want to see whether their requirements are traceable back to the high level requirements? Is it that their artifacts are immediately available? Are they properly organized? Have they been loaded to central websites wherein everyone can locate them? So maybe as a BA, one can discuss this all with the BA team and can find out what should be the performance assessment. And they can create, I mean, some metrics around the requirements. Like there is a very common matrix, which is the requirement should be clear, concise, and complete. So one can have such kind of matrix attached to your work. And similarly, document, the Word document is properly updated, screenshots are attached, the mockups are there. There are multiple things wherein you can detail how the BA performance will be assessed, business analysis performance, whether you are able to complete the meetings on time, whether everyone is clear on the agenda, and are you able to follow up on the pending action items, all of that. Multiple things can go in BA performance assessment. Business policies, yes, you need to be aware of that, because you need to be sure that you're not doing anything outside business policies when you're talking about governance, especially.
Right.
So you want to perform your business analysis in the most appropriate way, without risking your artifacts, project, uh, the reputation of, excuse me, so the reputation of your project, and of course your organization. Okay. Current state description need to be there in governance, because that will guide you how you will create this plan, because that will give you an as is state. Legal and regulatory information. So this is very important because uh, I mean, this is something which is the most sensitive part that you need to be aware of. So in your governance document, maybe you want to highlight that any regulatory information or legal information is not shared. So there could be external vendors who are a part of your project, right? Who are not part of your company, but they are suppliers. So if they are impacted because of any regulatory requirement, then you may need to send some documents and which need to be classified as I mean there are different classifications for the documents. It is highly confidential, confidential, public information, all of that. So you may need to provide some governance around that. Which document needs to be classified? How? I mean, if you want to detail it out to that level.
Okay.
Then we have techniques. So we of course need brainstorming. We might need to interview people to get more details around the governance. We might need to send out survey and questionnaire, conduct workshops, and document analysis, which is like existing documents, uh, how they were capturing, the governance work. We might take some information from there. Items tracking, we should be able to track the issues because issues are an important part of governance, and risk mitigation is also one of the governance parts also. That if there is a risk highlighted to any of the business analysis artifact, how we are going to handle that? Is there any mitigation plan? So let's say there are 10 features that need to be analyzed by the end of this month, but you're able to do only 6. So if any 4 are left, then how would you handle that situation? That can go into governance. Lessons learned is always good. We might have to modify our governance document on the basis of lessons learned. Organizational modeling is important because you might want to capture the escalation channels. Let's say if something happens at certain end, you might want to escalate, for which you need organizational modeling ready. Process modeling, again, I mean, you have a process model wherein you know the flow of it. So it depends how creatively you use this. I'm not very sure how relevant this could be, I mean, for this governance model. But you can certainly find this out in BABOK, how they have explained this process modeling for governance. Reviews, of course, we require. We need to review our business analysis governance. You can certainly do that. Okay, stakeholders, domain SMEs, sponsor, regulator, and project manager. So with governance, we have less a list of stakeholders because sponsor, someone who is funding, is a major stakeholder. Regulator, of course, legal and compliance. We need to be very sure that we are complying with these requirements. Project manager need to be looped in for everything. And then domain subject matter expert. So these are the guys from whom the requirements will come. So they need to be counted in for BA governance. They should be a part of this.